There are times when a person occupies your thoughts so completely that it feels almost impossible to focus on anything else. Their presence lingers in your mind like a persistent echo, returning in moments of quiet, in fleeting memories, and even in your dreams. You may ask yourself why this particular individual has taken such a hold over your heart and mind, and the answer may be far deeper than mere attraction or habit. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, often uses our thoughts to communicate with us, to signal lessons we need to learn, and to guide us toward choices that will shape our destiny. The persistence of a thought is rarely accidental. It is often a divine nudge, a reminder, or a subtle form of guidance that demands attention. The human mind is complex, and Allah has created it with the ability to reflect, imagine, and ponder deeply. When someone appears repeatedly in your thoughts, it is not always because of your own desire, but because Allah is sending you messages through your own consciousness. Sometimes these thoughts are meant to reveal a truth about your heart, perhaps an attachment you need to examine, a lesson you have yet to understand, or a path you are being prepared to take. The Quran reminds us, and we have created you and given you forms, then we made your forms in the best proportion. Surah At-Tin 95:4. Our minds, emotions, and attachments are all part of a carefully designed system, and Allah is fully aware of how thoughts and feelings arise. Nothing is random. What you notice, what occupies your attention, and what moves your heart are all part of His precise planning. Often the person you cannot stop thinking about is a mirror to your own soul. They may represent qualities that you admire, lessons that you need to learn, or unresolved emotions that require attention. Sometimes the repetition of thoughts is Allah's way of preparing you for something significant, whether it is a lesson in patience, a test of attachment, or the clarification of what is truly beneficial for you. Consider the way the prophets were guided through subtle signs and inner reflections. Yusuf, peace be upon him, noticed certain feelings and events repeatedly, which guided his decisions and shaped his destiny. Similarly, when a person occupies your thoughts, it may be a spiritual signal to observe your own heart and align your intentions with what is righteous and beneficial. This persistent thinking can also serve as a warning or guidance. Perhaps there is a relationship that needs boundaries, a connection that requires clarity, or an attachment that is not in your best interest. Allah often uses repeated thoughts to draw attention to matters that require reflection and discernment. What feels like a burden or distraction may actually be a form of divine communication. By paying attention to these thoughts, by reflecting and praying, you allow Allah to clarify the direction you should take. This is why mindfulness, self-reflection, and dua are essential. They help you transform preoccupying thoughts into opportunities for growth, wisdom, and spiritual insight. It is important to recognize that the intensity of thoughts does not always equate to the importance of the person or situation in a worldly sense. Sometimes Allah magnifies the presence of someone in your mind to teach detachment, patience, or trust. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught us that the heart's inclinations and preoccupations can be a test and a lesson. By observing your thoughts, questioning their source, and turning to Allah for guidance, you begin to understand whether these thoughts are a call toward growth, a caution, or a reminder to align your desires with divine wisdom. When you cannot stop thinking about someone, it is also an invitation to surrender. Surrender does not mean ignoring your feelings, but rather entrusting them to Allah, seeking His guidance, and allowing Him to shape your heart and mind according to what is best for you. Your mind is a landscape, and Allah is the gardener, planting signs, insights, and reflections that will guide you to clarity, patience, and understanding. The persistence of thought is not a flaw or weakness, it is a sign of life, of spiritual awakening, and of divine interaction. Recognizing this is the first step in transforming preoccupation into purpose, distraction into reflection, and longing into a deeper connection with Allah. Our emotions are not random. They are signals, mirrors, and sometimes direct messages from Allah, guiding us toward reflection, growth, and understanding. When you cannot stop thinking about someone, it is often your heart and mind trying to communicate something to you. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, uses our feelings and preoccupations to nudge us toward lessons we may not yet see. He may be drawing your attention to matters of attachment, love, patience, or even self-awareness. Every thought, every lingering image, every emotional pull can be a subtle form of guidance designed to awaken your consciousness and align your choices with what is best for you. The Quran reminds us, do they not reflect upon themselves? Surah Ar-Rum 38. Reflection is a critical part of spiritual growth, and Allah often presents thoughts and emotions as invitations to reflect. When a person occupies your mind repeatedly, it is not necessarily because of worldly attachment alone. It could be a divine sign, a way for Allah to ask you to pause, examine your feelings, and discern what is truly beneficial for your heart and soul. These persistent thoughts can reveal your inclinations, your desires, and sometimes your attachments that may need purification. They highlight areas where your intentions, hopes, or fears are intertwined with deeper spiritual lessons that require attention. Emotions serve as mirrors, showing us aspects of ourselves that we may overlook. When someone dominates your thoughts, pay attention to what they reveal about your heart. Are they showing you qualities you aspire to develop within yourself? Are they exposing vulnerabilities or attachments that need realignment? Allah often allows people or circumstances to occupy our minds to awaken self-awareness. Just as a teacher may repeatedly draw attention to a student's mistake to encourage growth, Allah uses these thoughts to guide us toward understanding, healing, and preparation for what lies ahead. It is in these emotional spaces that subtle guidance, spiritual nudges, and divine clarity can emerge if we remain attentive and reflective. Sometimes the persistence of thought is a warning. Allah may be signaling that a particular attachment or desire is not in your best interest. It could be a test of patience, resilience, or self-control. By reflecting on these thoughts and seeking Allah's guidance through prayer and dua, you can discern whether the preoccupation is a call to action, a caution, or an invitation to redirect your heart toward what is beneficial. Just as the Quran guides believers to seek knowledge and clarity before taking action, persistent thoughts invite reflection before making decisions. They are not distractions but opportunities to practice discernment and align your emotions with divine wisdom. At the same time, these emotions can also be blessings. They may lead you to greater understanding, spiritual growth, or meaningful connections that serve a higher purpose. Perhaps this preoccupation is a sign that Allah is preparing you to cultivate patience, empathy, or love in ways that will strengthen your character. Through reflection and prayer, what initially feels like distraction can transform into guidance, clarity, and even joy. Real-life examples abound of individuals whose persistent thoughts led them to insight, self-improvement, or a deeper connection with Allah. The moments when the heart feels unsettled often become turning points in life, moments that shape destiny, character, and fate. Understanding emotions as divine signs requires mindfulness. Observe your feelings without judgment, reflect on their origin, and seek Allah's guidance in interpreting them. Your mind may dwell on someone, your heart may feel restless, but this restlessness is not meaningless. It is a divine signal, a subtle call to examine, reflect, and prepare. Emotions and thoughts are the language of the heart, and Allah often uses this language to communicate when words or circumstances cannot. By approaching persistent thoughts with reflection, prayer, and surrender, you allow Allah to transform what feels like distraction into spiritual clarity, emotional insight, and guidance for the steps you need to take. When you recognize that your feelings are not accidental but are part of Allah's wisdom, you begin to see the divine in the mundane. Every thought becomes an opportunity for growth, every emotional pull a chance to practice patience, and every preoccupation a signal that your heart is being guided toward awareness, understanding, and preparation for what is truly beneficial. When someone occupies your thoughts constantly, it is natural to wonder whether it is love, attachment, or something more profound that Allah is trying to reveal. Often our minds struggle to distinguish between desire, infatuation, and divine guidance. Understanding the nature of these feelings is essential, because they are rarely random. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, allows certain individuals to linger in our hearts and minds as a way of teaching us lessons, redirecting our paths, or preparing us for future blessings. Recognizing whether this preoccupation is a lesson, a test, or a form of guidance is a critical step towards spiritual clarity and emotional balance. Sometimes persistent thoughts about someone are a reflection of worldly desire. These are the attachments we feel based on attraction, familiarity, or habit. While these feelings are natural, Allah uses them to test our priorities, intentions, and self-control. The Quran reminds us, "Do not follow that of which you have no knowledge. Indeed, the hearing, the sight, and the heart, about all those you will be questioned." Surah Al-Isra 17:36. This verse encourages us to examine not just our actions but also the motivations and attachments that occupy our minds. By understanding whether the preoccupation is driven by fleeting desire or deeper purpose, we can act with wisdom and prevent our hearts from being led astray. Other times, these persistent thoughts are meant to be lessons. Allah allows certain individuals to remain in our hearts as mirrors, showing us our own vulnerabilities, patterns, and areas in need of growth. They may highlight our attachment tendencies, unresolved emotions, or areas where patience and self-discipline are required. In these moments, the person we cannot stop thinking about becomes less about them and more about what Allah is teaching us through the experience. They are catalysts for self-reflection, guiding us to observe our own hearts and discern what is truly beneficial for our spiritual and emotional well-being. In some cases, this preoccupation is a form of divine redirection. Allah may be preparing you for a relationship, a role, or an opportunity that aligns with your destiny. The repeated thoughts, feelings, or emotional pull may be signals pointing you toward clarity, patience, and readiness for what is to come. Just as the Quran instructs believers to trust in Allah's timing, and it may be that you dislike a thing which is good for you and that you love a thing which is bad for you. Allah knows and you do not. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:216. Persistent thoughts can guide us toward decisions that, while unclear in the moment, are aligned with what is best for our future. They are invitations to trust, reflect, and prepare for the blessings Allah has in store. Real-life examples demonstrate how these preoccupations can lead to clarity. Many individuals have found that someone they could not stop thinking about either became a source of immense blessing or a lesson in patience and self-discipline. By reflecting on these emotions, praying for guidance, and evaluating the intentions and outcomes, hearts are often redirected toward what is beneficial. Persistent thoughts are not meant to trap us in distraction but to awaken awareness, encourage self-reflection, and align our desires with divine wisdom. Recognizing whether your preoccupation is love, lesson, or redirection requires honesty and spiritual discernment. It requires examining your feelings, intentions, and the outcomes you anticipate. Are these thoughts drawing you closer to Allah, or are they leading you into unnecessary distraction? Are they a test of patience and self-control, or a preparation for a future blessing? By asking these questions, you begin to differentiate between temporary desire, meaningful lessons, and divine guidance. Ultimately, persistent thoughts are opportunities for growth. They challenge us to reflect, pray, and seek clarity. They encourage patience, discernment, and surrender to Allah's plan. When approached with intention and mindfulness, these thoughts are not burdens but blessings, signals from Allah guiding us towards self-awareness, emotional maturity, and alignment with His wisdom. Every preoccupation becomes a chance to practice patience, develop understanding, and prepare for what Allah has planned, transforming what feels like distraction into profound spiritual insight and purposeful direction. Responding wisely when someone dominates your thoughts is crucial for transforming preoccupation into clarity, growth, and spiritual alignment. When your mind constantly returns to a particular person, it can feel overwhelming, distracting, or even burdensome. However, these thoughts are not meaningless. They are opportunities for reflection, patience, and conscious action. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, often uses our attachments and preoccupations to guide us toward lessons that shape our hearts, refine our intentions, and prepare us for what lies ahead. How we respond, with surrender, prayer, and self-awareness, determines whether these thoughts become a source of distraction or a pathway to spiritual insight. The first step in responding wisely is to surrender to Allah's guidance. Surrender does not mean ignoring your feelings or pretending they do not exist. It means acknowledging them, recognizing their significance, and trusting that Allah is using them for your benefit. The Quran instructs believers to place trust in Allah and rely upon Allah, and sufficient is Allah as disposer of affairs. Surah Al-Ahzab 33:3. By turning your thoughts into an act of worship, reflection, and prayer, you allow Allah to clarify their meaning and purpose. Surrender transforms persistent thoughts from a source of anxiety into an opportunity for guidance and connection with your Creator. Patience is another essential element. Constantly thinking about someone can create inattention, frustration, or even emotional instability if approached impulsively. Allah tests our patience through these preoccupations, encouraging us to respond with calmness and discipline. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught that patience is a key to navigating life's trials and maintaining spiritual focus. By observing your thoughts without reacting impulsively, you develop resilience and self-control. This patience is not passive waiting, it is an active, conscious effort to allow your heart to process, reflect, and align with divine wisdom before taking any action. Prayer and reflection are powerful tools in responding wisely. Dua, supplication, and self-reflection help transform lingering thoughts into spiritual practice. When you find yourself preoccupied with someone, instead of allowing distraction to dominate your mind, you can turn to Allah, seeking guidance, clarity, and purification of intentions. Ask Allah to reveal whether your thoughts are a test, a lesson, or a divine signal for future blessings. Reflection allows you to analyze your intentions, discern your emotions, and understand whether attachment aligns with what is beneficial for your spiritual and personal growth. Letting go is often a necessary part of wise response. There are times when persistent thoughts signal that you need to release attachment, step back, and realign your focus. Letting go does not mean erasing memories or denying emotions. It means entrusting the situation and the person to Allah, understanding that He knows what is best. Sometimes preoccupation is a form of divine redirection, teaching detachment, patience, or preparation for a greater blessing. By consciously releasing control and focusing on spiritual growth, you turn preoccupation into a practice of trust and surrender. Practical steps can also aid in responding wisely. Engage in acts of worship, self-reflection, and service to others. Focus on personal goals, learning, and spiritual development. Channel energy that was absorbed in constant thought into productive, meaningful action. Journaling, prayer, and reflection can help clarify the purpose behind your preoccupation. These actions create balance, allowing you to honor your feelings while not being consumed by them, and enabling Allah to guide your heart toward understanding, clarity, and preparation for the next stage of your journey. Ultimately, responding wisely is about transforming emotional preoccupation into spiritual opportunity. By surrendering to Allah, exercising patience, engaging in reflection and prayer, and practicing detachment when necessary, persistent thoughts can become a source of growth rather than distraction. Every moment of longing, contemplation, or emotional turbulence is an invitation to align your intentions, strengthen your character, and trust Allah's guidance. Through conscious response, you learn to navigate your heart and mind with wisdom, turning what initially feels like fixation into preparation, insight, and readiness for the blessings Allah has prepared. Trusting Allah's plan is the final and most crucial step when someone occupies your thoughts constantly. When your mind and heart are consumed by a person, it is easy to feel restless, anxious, or uncertain about what steps to take. Yet these moments are opportunities to cultivate faith, patience, and surrender to Allah's wisdom. The persistence of thought is rarely random. It often signals that Allah is trying to communicate something significant, whether a lesson, a test, or a preparation for future blessings. Recognizing this and placing trust in His plan allows you to navigate emotional turbulence with clarity, purpose, and spiritual insight. Trust begins with acknowledging that Allah's wisdom surpasses our understanding. The Quran reminds us, "But perhaps you hate a thing, and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing, and it is bad for you. And Allah knows, while you know not." Surah Al-Baqarah 2:216. This verse teaches that what we perceive as loss, longing, or distraction may actually be protection, preparation, or guidance. When a person repeatedly occupies your thoughts, it is essential to step back and consider that Allah may be using this preoccupation to steer your heart toward what is truly beneficial. The discomfort you feel is not meaningless. It is part of a divine process designed to strengthen your faith, sharpen your awareness, and prepare you for future blessings. Surrendering to Allah's plan requires letting go of the need for immediate answers or control. It means accepting that your heart may not understand the purpose behind your preoccupation, and that the resolution will come in His timing. The Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu taught that reliance on Allah as a patience during trials lead to guidance, clarity, and reward. By trusting Allah, you acknowledge that He is orchestrating every moment of your life, every connection, and every emotional pull. Your feelings are not wasted. They are part of a carefully arranged process designed to guide, teach, and prepare you for what lies ahead. This trust also transforms the way you engage with your thoughts. Instead of becoming consumed, frustrated, or restless, you approach them as signs to observe, reflect, and pray. Each moment of preoccupation becomes an opportunity for spiritual growth. You can turn longing into dua, asking Allah for clarity, guidance, and alignment with what is best for your heart and soul. You can examine your intentions, discern your emotional responses, and redirect energy toward personal and spiritual development. By doing so, what may have initially felt like distraction becomes a tool for preparation, refinement, and awakening. Real-life examples illustrate how trust in Allah's plan brings clarity and peace. Many individuals have experienced periods of intense emotional focus on someone, only to later realize that the preoccupation was a lesson in patience, detachment, or spiritual alignment. In other cases, persistent thoughts guided people toward relationships or decisions that ultimately fulfilled their purpose in ways they could not have imagined. Allah's timing is precise, and what feels unresolved today may later reveal itself as part of a greater design. Trust allows you to remain patient and faithful during the process, knowing that divine wisdom is at work even when human understanding falls short. Trusting Allah also requires reflection on what is truly beneficial. Are your thoughts leading you toward actions that align with faith and virtue? Are they teaching lessons in patience, gratitude, or reliance on Allah? By reflecting, you can discern the lessons embedded in preoccupation and act in ways that honor your spiritual growth. Sometimes the person you cannot stop thinking about is meant to inspire self-awareness, refine your heart, or redirect your focus toward higher purpose. Trusting Allah allows you to embrace this guidance without fear, frustration, or unnecessary attachment. Ultimately, trusting Allah's plan transforms persistent thoughts from a source of distraction into a source of guidance, preparation, and spiritual insight. By surrendering control, practicing patience, reflecting on your emotions,
and turning to prayer, you allow Allah to replace confusion with clarity, restlessness with peace, and longing with purpose. What may feel like preoccupation is actually a divine invitation to align your heart with His wisdom. Prepare for future blessings, and trust that every connection, every thought, and every feeling is part of a plan far greater than you can imagine. In this surrender, you discover peace, clarity, and readiness for the guidance and opportunities Allah has in store.